If you had the chance to tell the world something, what would you tell the world? Over the past 8 months, I've asked this question about a dozen times, with the answers always revealing fascinating stories. I am a filmmaker, I guess, or I strive to be one. And asking this particular question has not only made me reevaluate how I view myself, but also how I view my behavior towards others. My story starts in the beginning of last year when I was on a plane to Singapore, and I happened to sit next to a young Singaporean undergraduate student who also happened to be the founder of an NGO that empowers migrant workers by teaching them English. And as my summer internship had just been canceled and I was stuck in Singapore, I told him that I'd be happy to help him with some promotional videos if he needed that. And the one day of production that followed this coincidental meeting became 40 hours of footage and half a year of immersing myself in the lives of a group of incredibly inspiring people. But the process of shooting a movie does not start with the footage. It ends with it. And when I started shooting my movie, there were a lot of conversations that I had to have with my film teacher, for example, about what I was actually trying to do. And in one of these conversations, he asked me, have you watched any documentaries about migrant workers? And I said, I had, but I had never quite gotten past the first 3 minutes. They made me feel uncomfortable. These documentaries showed individuals as a long shot. A construction site with someone in the far distance, the narrator explaining their lives, and a moderator interviewing their employers. I don't need to watch these movies because I don't want to make a movie like that, I said. Watch them anyway, he said, and make sure to reverse the formula. And I guess that's sort of what I did. In the months to follow, I made sure to film close-ups, to increase aperture, to increase color, focus on the eyes that look at me and the lips that share their stories. And when I asked a question where I didn't have a particular answer in mind of what I thought these people wanted to say, it revealed the most interesting things about them. About midway through my production process, I went to this panel about migrant workers where it was a little bit improvised. I think it was like in the middle of a hallway or something, where the audience was sitting on the floor and there was a panel of, I think, some Asian white people in the middle, about in their 40s. And the one sitting in the middle would later give a rather extensive speech about how migrant workers feel and how they're treated unfairly. And throughout his speech, I could feel myself getting more and more angry until I stopped filming him and started filming the reactions of the people in the audience, the people who were actually migrant workers. And afterwards, there were some classmates who were with me that day, and I expressed my outrage to them, and they were like, what do you mean? It was an interesting insight. And I realized that I had been the only person in the room realizing the irony of that situation. The important thing about the story is that the speaker certainly meant very well, and he was very familiar with the topic. But instead of talking about giving migrant workers a voice, he could have asked them to come up on stage and given them a chance to speak. But this is not a speech about migrant workers, because then I would do the same mistake. You can talk to one of my friends in the audience about that. When I'm not annoying individuals by going close up on them with a camera, I usually stand on stage. just not this kind of stage with a spotlight and a red carpet. It's usually a little bit more improvised, a little bit more dirty, very much more cheap. Initiative for Peace, we call it IFP, is a conference run by young people for young people to build peace and a sustainable future. It was actually an initiative started here in Dover in 2002. Since then, teachers have been training students for a year who then go on into an area of conflict. And for a week, they bring young people together, make them talk, make them share their experiences, make them reflect, and hopefully overcome their stereotypes. One of my friends went to one of these conferences in Thailand where there were Thai delegates and delegates from Myanmar. And she would have this experience where there would be delegates coming in who would not talk to the other delegates from the other countries. But at the end of the week, they would run around with the flags of the other countries on their cheeks. She was so empowered and inspired by this experience that she wanted to bring IFP to her home country, Cambodia. So she initiated the first student-run, school-independent IFP Cambodia conference during her gap year. And I was in grade 11. I was at the right time, at the right place, and I was very, very lucky to be part of her team. It was a little bit of a mess. We were a bunch of 16 to 18-year-olds trying to solve the world. We had these 30 delegates who would come to us. I could tell you about how we arrived at the conference. We didn't have enough beds. We were 7 facilitators, and these were the 2 beds that we had. Let me introduce my friend Valentine. I love this picture, it's great. How one of them broke. And how we had scented toilet paper, but no toilet at some point. But what also happened is that we laughed about it. We thought we had a choice how to tell our story. And we took the energy into the conference the next day, forming the best team I've ever been part of. Look at us. Another picture just for you. This is us saving money going on a tuk-tuk. I couldn't give this speech without including this picture, but let's move this away quickly. So, Initiative for Peace. The reason why I'm going on a plane to Cambodia, again, up for all of this, is not only because of the amazing team that I got to know and that I got to be part of last year. It's the feeling that you get when there's a delegate coming up to you and says, "This has changed my life." But why? What makes IFP so different? I think one of our delegates asked himself the same question when he messaged me a couple of days ago asking for the agenda of the conference. And I told him that I wouldn't be able to give it to him because we wanted delegates to just go in without any expectations. Also because the agenda is not quite there yet, but that's not the point. I think he panicked a little bit because he was like, but then how are we supposed to prepare for our debates? How are we supposed to represent our countries? And I was like, IFP does not include political debates. You will not represent your countries. You will represent yourself as an individual, your thoughts on life, and the world. You don't need to prepare anything but bring some energy and an open mind. And a couple of minutes later, he replied, "Oh, good conference. I can't wait to be part of the conference." So in IFP, we don't teach how to build peace, although we sometimes say it. We take our delegates on a journey. We ask them who they are, what they think of themselves, what they want to be. We ask them that if they had the chance to tell the world something, what would they tell the world? Just without a camera. And when they found respect for themselves, and when they find respect for each other, we usually take them on a service day. Not only to teach them how to give back and how to do service, but how to do service respectfully. How to not look down on the people that we help. Because this is not a speech about migrant workers, this is not a speech about IFP, and this is not even a speech about storytelling. This is a speech about respect. It's the core of what is necessary for every time I ask someone for their story or for their voice when I am interviewing someone for my documentary. It's the core that is necessary for a delegate to have trust in me, not only for me to teach them something, but that they also feel that I value what they teach me every single day of a conference. So if I had the chance to tell the world something, I would tell the world to stop ranking things, to stop putting labels into neat little boxes and put them on top of each other so that we know which one is beyond and below each other. We don't need that. We need to learn how to treat the people who take care of our homes, our buildings and our streets and our food, the same way that we treat our friends. We need to learn how to go into service not thinking that we have all the answers and that we are the great people who come from above, descending above them with our knowledge. We need to learn how to have respect for everyone, even the people that we don't understand and even the people that we don't like. I believe it can change our relationships. It can change how we walk into a room. It can change our political debates. It can change the world. And if that's still a little bit theoretical for you, or if you think that's obvious, I want to show you what I mean. And I know I don't have a week with you. I mean, if anyone has time, please. Could you all do me a favor and stand up? But I don't want you to look at me because I do see the irony of me standing on stage as a TEDx speaker pretending my story is more worthwhile than others, because it's not. And I want you to turn around and look at each other as far as that's sort of possible in this kind of scenario. So the first row can turn around and you can look at each other. And when you look around, your mind will tell you all these things that society has taught you. You will see people who are beyond you in some ways. They might be older, they might be of a higher status than you, they might be richer, they might be your teachers, they might be your students. And just for 1 second, forget all of that. Just look at the people, the human beings who are in this room together. Every single person in this room has not only one, but multiple stories, a lifetime of stories to tell you that you will never hear as soon as you leave this room. But you're all sharing this moment with each other right now. Isn't that amazing? And that happens to you every time you walk into a room with new people. So I have a challenge for you. As soon as I leave the stage in like 30 seconds, go up to someone. Say, I'm doing the Julia challenge, if you feel awkward about it, and say hello. How are you? You could ask, if you had the chance to tell the world something, what would you tell the world?